you know, offhand how to drop it, you do the average, right? Or, I mean, you would show the highest score. Um, right.
I've never been able to find one.
So you say the ridicule? She's trying to show you the Preservice and stuff first. You can set it up so that it will show the highest grades and top and lowest.
I looked on the website, so I will be glad to like.
She has it up here. We may have to add this to our faculty resources quick link so that it shows you how to do these types of things. How does that work for you?
Okay, so I want to remind you what I said earlier. We've come up with a system, but we know, I said this, right? It's not going to be perfect. At the beginning, we're going to have to tweak it. I'm sure there's things that are going to come up that we couldn't think of every situation. You're just going to have to be patient with us and we'll work our way through it. It will work and work well, I think, eventually. But at the beginning, now, it's like anything. We know that there's going to be some things we haven't thought of. But we're trying to address them as they come up.
We've been trying to make sure, like I said, that we can get all the categories, the early college, high school, the STEM, all those other ones involved. And like I also said, it keeps changing. They keep adding things. Like some of the schools require that you see the grades every 6 weeks. Some use different time frames. So it's a very complicated thing. And like Dean Anderson said, it's basically a work in progress. Okay, well, we're trying to make it easier for you. Joe?
Oh, and just a quick question. I was wondering, those are the things online. Are we going to still be required to turn in to a C10 grade, a spreadsheet like we've been always doing?
These decisions are not mine to make, but I did ask, and I was told you don't have to do the C10 grade book anymore. So this is right.
In your Blackboard grade, what is the column heading title that we look at to confirm that the average being reported is the correct average?
Being reported where in the?
Well, if we do a points total, then there's going to be a current running average that's going to be reported somewhere, and I assume that's going to be configured when it's pulled out.
You're talking about the early college, high school notes, right?
Whoever is pulling out the grades
Yeah.
for whatever they're pulling out.
Okay, my people just created the program. What is pulled out is going to be run by Janelle Deal and her people. They're going to check things, make sure that it makes sense.
Is there any column that we can put in Blackboard so I can look at that column saying, this is the column that Janelle saved? I know I create the total, and I know that based on what I have in here, the grade should be a 72.
Right.
But how do I affirm that the grade they're seeing is actually the grade it's supposed to be? Is there a column that we put
I
in
think you
Blackboard?
could create a column if you wanted to, but
I could,
yeah,
they're not colorful.
right. You're asking things I can't answer. We were just asked to come up with a system that would allow the grades to be pulled for all these various ISPs at different frequencies. So that's all. Okay. Do you have another question, Olivia?
So, in taking attendance on web advisor, we would be able to go into each day and, put in whether somebody was absent or not absent. Is there going to be something on Blackboard
Blackboard has that now
for each day?
for attendance, yes.
Okay.
It's under the control panel.
Pardon?
Let me go back to the last question that you just asked, sir. You were asking whether or not the grade that you see in your grade book is the same grade that the student sees when he logs in to look at his grades, right? Was that the question? Okay, so when we were doing all of our testing over the last 6 months, we have a test account that we go into and we test all this stuff, okay? And I can go in and create a test student, so to say. And I go in and I create this test student and I log in as that test student. And I can see what the student sees, okay? And we entered in bogus grades as a bogus instructor, okay? And then we enter in those grades and everything, and then Julie will go in as that instructor and say, these are the grades that the student has earned. And then I go in as the student and I say, okay, this is what I see. And we test multiple instructors and grades and things like that so that, okay, then I'm not understanding.
Can you make a percentage column based on the running total of available possible points versus points earned? That's what he wants to see.
Okay.
Okay, how do you know, in other words, I put in, there's 500 possible points for week 1, okay? And they've got a 200. How do you know what the possible points are for that column? A running total, I understand how to do a running total, but I have 200, I have 500, she has 10, she has 30. They're all different. How is the school gonna know what the percentage is if we're not allowed to use a percentage? Can we use a running total with percentages out to the side? You see the dilemma? Is you don't know how many possible points.
Okay. The way that the program is set up, it calculates the numbers that you put in, and it calculates it from percentages into the actual rate.
Okay, I understand that, but you told us a few minutes ago that we weren't allowed to use any more percentages in our grades. Only points.
Right, the final grade doesn't show as a percentage, so it's not a 98% for your final grade, it's a 98.
Okay, but my total points is 642 for an A. How are you gonna know?
Can we do that?
That's my total.
That's okay.
That's my total. Do you see what the problem is? Can we put the total number of points and then also choose percentage, which puts it in parentheses with the percentage next to it?
So 2 columns. Two columns, right?
No. Just, see, you can choose it as the score and then also as a percentage. And then it puts it in parentheses. So any student or any school can look at it and see what the percentage is. Otherwise, they have no idea what that total number of points means.
But they're not getting the points, they're getting percentages.
How are they getting percentages without the total possible points?
Because that's what the program does.
So the program converts it and that's what they say?
Yes.
Yes.
But he wants to see it.
They want to see an example.
Overall percentage. That's all they said.
I'm sorry, I guess that the system engineers who developed this program should have been here, because I can't answer some of your questions. But what I understood is that the schools want percentages. That's why we couldn't use the ILP. That was one of the reasons, because they don't want letter grades, they want percentages. So what the outcome of the system that was developed will give percentages to the schools at the time periods that they want those percentages. Okay.
My question, so that secondary display, that in effect is the weighted total? In other words, my concern is, and I think this follows up on what Philip was saying, on day 10 of the semester, I can't tell if a student's going to get an A, B, or C based on them having 198 points or 200. And if they ask, what are they making, or if they look at home, and they say 345 points, I'm looking for some kind of column that can go and look at that and see what that arbitrary number of points actually is. Is that a 70%? Is that 8%? What have you?
I think what the goal of this was to get the grades in the format that the schools wanted so that it could be shown in their student services system. It's, okay, but I don't have an answer. I don't. We were here to talk about the IOP, not specifically this other system, unfortunately.
I have a quick question. KISD is going to pull all these grades at the time that is convenient to KISD and the grade to candidates and so forth. For us, I mean, students do have deadlines, so some students progress way beyond other students. And because of the days that are cut off, how accurate, therefore, those grades would be put out by KISD regarding each student?
It would be the same idea as the self-paced courses. You know, if you've got self-paced courses, then you may have, you probably educate the students that they have to do certain things, you know, sequentially or whatever, you know, for deadlines. I think what the schools are really looking at is the final grade, because to be honest, I've been told that for the school systems, that sometimes those interim grades are not right, because the instructor, when they had to do them, didn't necessarily put them in right.
The question that Philip was asking is a really good one, is if there's no uniform title for the grade, then how will the system know that that's the one that they should choose to determine the student's grade at that point in time? In other words, if there's no uniform label at the top of that column, it has to be called total.
Right, this goes back to those grade book requirements that we have. There's reasons for those, and one is that you do have to have a total column, okay?
So you're saying it doesn't use the total column? Just the points accrued, not the actual.
My people in Fort Charlie have been testing the system, my system engineers developed, as well as the IOP for months. And it's working.
You say it's working, I believe you. But if you say it's working, if my grade is already done like this, I'm good to go. So all I need to know is that I can go in and put in the grades at that time, and y'all will figure it out.
That is what I've been told, okay?
Y'all will figure it out.
Yes. Wow, okay. 45 minutes late. Okay, can we talk about the IOP now? Because that's where you actually have to do some work. Like I said, this other stuff, as long as you put the grade books that it's going to run in the background, and it's going to be done properly. And it doesn't care which school the student is at, because there's codes that you're going to see in your Blackboard course that is looking at colleague for, and it's doing all that work. Okay? And as I also said, the distance ed and public information, or whatever they're called, department, will be looking at all these grades too. But everybody will be using the IOP. This is how you get your grades from Blackboard into Web Advisor, okay? And so, are we ready now?
Hello. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to submit both midterm and final grades in Blackboard using the Submit Grades tool.
Don't do the video, do the PowerPoint. Gotta get the right one. I told them that there was, and I'm gonna tell you guys. No, I think it's funny. Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, these guys are really good, but I thought this was hilarious. I was out yesterday for a family emergency. Wednesday afternoon. And so I was supposed to come in this morning and look at the stuff that my people had done in my absence. And they're very good about doing stuff, they're very creative. But I looked at this one link that was out there, and it was supposed to be the PowerPoint thing, right? But the text. I had my headphones on from watching the video, and I heard Christian, who did all the talking in the background, and he got to a certain point, he says, I can't say that word. I cannot say tutorials. And then Pam popped in. You realize that Pam doesn't like to talk, but I heard her on that too. So obviously the wrong thing had been uploaded. I told them they should leave it there and just go with bloopers, you know? Everybody has bloopers. But they took it off. I know. I like bloopers in the right place. Okay, this is the PowerPoint version of what we did for the video. And to let you know, the video was done at the radio station. I guess it was over the volume for a big room. Okay. The purpose of this is to learn how to submit midterm and final grades. Now, you may not have to submit midterm grades. I know right now you're not. So that's up to your department or student services as whether you do this or not. But the IOP does give you the capability of submitting up to 4. I don't like the term midterm, but we can't change it on the form, okay? It's really interim grades or intermediate grades or something. But it does allow you to submit up to 4 midterm grades and then 1 final. Okay, so to get to the tool, you go under your control panel in Blackboard, and you're going to select, I didn't reach this one, submit grades, okay? You haven't seen that before, we just turned it on, all right? It's on the control panel, and it's called submit grades. It came in automatically as something about ILP, blah, 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 and we thought that doesn't mean anything to anybody. So we were able to change it to submit grades. That makes a lot more sense, right? Okay. Okay, are we at the next? Okay. Okay, so she clicked on that, and she selected midterm grades. So this is the form that you see, all right? It will bring in suggestions from your Blackboard grade book. So this was just a test course, so we don't have scores for everybody. But if you had grades for everybody, points or whatever, it will show you some suggested grades. And you can either keep those or you can change them, all right? So she is doing midterm 1, it doesn't matter, or even if you do this, then when you submit grades, the midterms can still be changed. If you want to verify this, do you have the verification here or afterwards? After. Okay. What is this? This is the confirmation. Okay. Here they call it. I'm sorry. Okay. This is web advice. Okay. This is the first time some of these columns have shown up. Before, you were told to use final grades and you just had a final grade column. Well, now when you go to Web Advisor, you're going to see these other columns too. And that's what this form in Blackboard is going to populate. And you can always change those. If you made a mistake and you put a B and the student really deserved a C for whatever midterm, you can go in and change that. You can either change it in Web Advisor or you can do it through the form again. Okay? It will let you do that. Do you have questions so far? I'm almost afraid to ask. No questions? Okay, you don't have a microphone anymore, do you? You can do up to 4. Here, come back in here. Thank you, Fred.
I know for like, for so is there a way to get Google?
It's set up for 4. Yeah. No. Yeah, these are different. These are 2 different systems. This is for Web Advisor. Okay. So this midterm 1, 2, 3, and 4 may not even correspond with the time periods that KIC wants to grades. Okay. And you may have a mixed class. You may have a class where you've got college students and you've got ISD students. So I don't know if you would always know or not which they are. Okay, this is just saying that this is where you can check them, make sure they came through right. There have been a few instances when it didn't connect to colleague because it timed out, it couldn't get into colleague, it was setting, but you'll get an error message. So if you get an error message, just wait a minute and try it again and you'll go through. Okay, but this is like a check and balance, making sure that what you wanted went through. Okay, this is the final grade one. Okay, now you're just given one chance on this one. You enter the grades, again it's pulling from the Blackboard grade book, but you can change that. What is in that one column, there you go, it's not, where is it? It's hard to see. Doesn't it show the suggested grade or current grade? It's not showing any for these people, I guess they didn't have any current grades. But it will give you suggestions like with the other form, and you can change it. Those grades are not sent to WebAdvisor, but you enter in the columns are sent to WebAdvisor, okay? Now, here, you can't change the letter grade. If you put a B and you meant to have a C, you're gonna have to go into, you're going to have to submit a change of grade form, like you always do. However, if you enter an IP, that's changeable because that's not considered to be grade. So if you have an IP, you can either, once they turn in their work or they don't turn in their work and they get the F or whatever, you can change it here or you can change it in WebAdvisor. It's your choice, doesn't matter. Okay, again, you can go into WebAdvisor. Okay, this is a different column. For the, go ahead, go back. We already did that. Yeah. This just shows that there's some other columns for the last date of attendance and the never attended. You can consult your department chair or your online manager if they want you to fill this stuff out. But to be honest, if they never attended, they shouldn't be showing up anyhow because you submitted that thing, by the census date, and so you wouldn't see them there. But,
Okay, maybe
what?
that's well, keeping records of everything.
I just have to mention something. When you see on here, we're saying that we have 4 midterm grades, but you see 6 grade columns. Okay, even though we set it up for only 4 midterm grades in WebAdvisor and in Colleague, we can't get rid of columns for grades 5 and 6. It'll show regardless, even if we only set it up for 3 or 2 midterm grades, those other columns will still show in WebAdvisor. There's nothing we can do about those columns. So don't freak out that you see those extra columns. They're just gonna be there. So I don't want you to think that there's extra columns there and you're wondering, what do I do with those?
Thank you, appreciate it. She knows a lot more about this than I do because she and Julie have been testing this stuff so much. I thought Julie was going to tear her hair out. And I don't see you every day, so I didn't know about you. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we cannot change. We can change a few things on the form, but then they don't convert when they go to WebAdvisor. Somebody over here had a question? Oh, okay. Who was first?
Yeah, you're closer. Okay, I was just gonna ask about the last minute attendance, since we need that for VA and financial aid. Will that pull over? Or, okay.
Yes, it will.
Don't freak
You
out.
just don't have to do that. Was what but see, I don't have any policies and we don't make policies, so you may want clarification on that. Yes. She's talking about Fs. Okay.
What about, okay, so if you have a student who's never attended on census, you're gonna go ahead and mark it?
Right.
Okay, and if you have a student that's received an F at the end of the grade, you're gonna go ahead and mark it there as well. It'll pull over. Okay.
Okay, who was next? I had
What about the date for incomplete?
the what?
The date for incomplete, by when an incomplete has to be completed?
It's 110 days. Where do you put that in?
Where do you put it?
It doesn't go in your grade book. It's a catalog issue. It's 110 days from the last day of class.
But what if you do not want to sign 110 days?
It's up to the teacher, right?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So if you choose,
You're asking about the expiry date, right?
Yes.
Do they fill in the expiry date? I don't know.
yeah, I think you have a choice to put it in there, so if you only wanna give the student, 60 days, you can put it in there.
I think I asked about that, and I don't think you have to fill it in, but if you do put a hard date in there, I think what it's gonna do is, instead of waiting till 110 days or whatever, if you put 2 weeks, it's gonna give the student an F after 2 weeks. Even if the student completed everything, but you haven't gotten around to changing the grade. So I think that's a little dangerous to put that in there. Right. Exactly. What I do is I put an IP deadline in my Blackboard grade book. And so they know, they can see it, they know that that's how long they have. And I do not recommend giving more than a couple of weeks, depending on what they still have to do. Because if they're in an 8-week class and you give them 110 days or whatever, they've got a longer extension than they were in the class. And if you look at the qualifications for an IP, they're supposed to have completed most of the work. Well, what happened here? Did they not? I mean, and I also find that a lot of times IP students are not successful. They think they're going to get the work done, and they don't. And so you end up giving them an F anyhow. Okay, next. Okay.
Could you show us, we started saying attendance. Could you show us how to do attendance on Blackboard?
Are we finished with this? Do you have any other questions about this before we do attendance? I think you've got to have students in the class for it to work though, don't you?
I have fake students.
Do you? Okay. Pam is my go-to person. Oh, okay. Tracy, I'm coming. Come on. I'm glad I wore my shorter shoes, but they still work. All right, ready. So, 2 questions. On that final exam, or I'm sorry, final grade screen, where we put in the letter grades, do their points show up on that screen too? Like now, so we're gonna have to somehow have their points somewhere, like printed, so that as we're entering theirs, we can refer.
It'll automatically populate, right?
And it'll automatically populate, what I'm saying.
To confer, like to make sure.
Right. So the points show up on that one column, yeah. So you'll be able to see them on the one screen. No, they'll be on the one screen. Okay, and then do we have to then go into WebAdvisor, or does Blackboard will take us there, right? We're gonna have to open WebAdvisor, log in, and go to Grace. Well, if you look for WebAdvisor, you'll have to log in. Okay, and then when we check, do we need to hit submit, or is it already submitted? It should already be in there. Okay, so if we don't go into WebAdvisor, our final grade is submitted. Yeah, exactly, yeah. The idea for the ILP was to make it easier for you guys, so you didn't have to go to WebAdvisor. But once the software was purchased and we started working on it, we found you don't just push a button, which is kind of what we were expecting. We thought you would go to Blackboard Grade and you would push something and say, okay, same rate. As you can see, that's not how it works. And that happens with a lot of software. You don't really know what you have until you start testing it and using it. Did you have a question?
We still have to set up the course wizards at the beginning of every semester.
That's it, WebAdvisor, baby.
The system is different. No.
You can give, this is not like what I said about the other system, where you have to give extra credit points to make it jive. You can still enter an A if the student got 899 points. So it doesn't count. Remember, these are 2 different systems, okay? Which is why we tried to come up with grade-book requirements that would work for both of them. Otherwise, you're going to have one that's, okay, if you have EHS, Early High School, or KISD, or whatever, you do this, otherwise you do this. That's too confusing. But these requirements work for everybody. Yeah.
Quick. Blackboard that we see when we go to the regular CDC website, can we do this maintenance? We have to go to the Blackboard via the online admission. In other words, on the two different Blackboards, or if we log into one, we log into Blackboard. Period.
So that must happen in the back.
What do you mean two different Blackboards?
When you started this presentation, you logged in through resources through these. Do you have to set it up via that?
No, that was
You
just
can
to
set it up
show.
through any way you access Blackboard is the way you get into it.
You still do Blackboard like you always did. We were just showing you where a lot of the instruction is in the videos. You can't really log into Blackboard through the quick links.
But I log in through Blackboard via the links.
I think there is a link on the CTC website or something to Blackboard.
Back to the resources.
Yeah, it goes to the same place.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay, so I can all set up.
Right. Yeah, I was confused as to which two Blackboards you're talking about, I'm sorry. No, if it says ctc.blackboard.com, it's
Or
going
save
to
it
one
somewhere.
Blackboard. Okay? Anybody else? I think I see a hand or two. Did it die?
I couldn't hear what Tracy was saying. So instead a student has 899 points and 900 is an A, does the system automatically round up, or do we input the extra credit, like as a roundup thing?
Well, it's suggesting that you put in the extra credit, because if the course also has early college, high school, or PIC or whatever, that's the safest way to do it, okay?
Just to make sure that
Yes.
it will give them the percentage grade.
Yes, but the IOP, it doesn't matter for it, because it's just taking the letter grade. In fact, there's certain things on that form that don't even show up. One thing that's annoying, but we can't fix, is it doesn't show the student ID. I don't know if you noticed that, but it doesn't. But the good thing is, how many of you have multiple cross-sections, cross-listed sections? Okay, remember how you go to the Web Advisor grading page, and they're alphabetical, like primary, and then in, and all these different ones, and it's really easy to make a mistake? That doesn't happen with this. It consolidates it just like it is in the Blackboard grade book. So that's a plus. Yeah, they're alphabetical. Yes, definitely. Okay, any other questions before we go on to whatever it was we said we were going to go to? I forgot now. Oh, attendance. Okay, attendance.
So for attendance, we go to control panel
I guess I got
and attendance. And we click add attendance. Oh, okay. Click add attendance.
And you can do it in
You can grade. I don't know. How would you grade this? Like percentage or letter? I'm not sure now.
It depends on how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Unless you just want to indicate that they're failing.
If it's not part of a grade, you just put 0 in all of those, correct? And then you check them.
This is something new, the attendance. We hadn't turned it on, we recently turned it on, but you can't set it up until you have students in there. Now, if you're teaching the August 26 classes this on Monday, you'll get students in there on Friday, this Friday. So then you can go in and check it out and see if you can do the attendance, which, some people like to do attendance. Okay, do we have any other questions? And we can do a PowerPoint on this. But do you still need to go through it?
No, I think that's it, right?
Sharon says today, attendance is required for all classes.
Yes. For all classes? Yes. Even online?
Everything. Yes. Just online.
I've never attendance if you can add more dates. So the first one that pops up is gonna be today, and then it'll make a column and it'll have today. Then you can add a meeting, but what you have to do is right next to the word today on top of all of your students and checked off, right on the side, if you hover over, there's a plus sign, but you don't see it unless you hover your arrow. So you're looking at the today, come to the side, and you can add as many columns as you want, and you can click on the word today, that looks like a link, and you can change the date, the calendar pops up.
Can you let her show this?
Thank you. Okay, so show us. See, if we go to overall. Okay. Go ahead and put it, do the X next, the black box. Oops. Yeah. So if you hover next to today, come to the right of it.
Okay, got it.
There's a little plus sign. Did you see
Right
the purple plus sign?
Excellent.
And you can keep adding columns, and then you can click on the today on the top. And when you click on today, go down to edit meeting, and you can pick any date you want. And then you can go ahead and change it. And you can keep points. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you wanted to start putting on there, back it up. Yeah, okay. It forces you to put points in there, but then you can just go to the grade center and make it 0. So there'll be a column that shows points, but if you make it 1 0, it won't matter. If you don't want attendance to be part of your grade.
Thank you. One question on that though. So every time you took attendance, you have to add another column. Is that what?
If you miss a day.
It's daily, right? So tomorrow it will show up today.
No, I think you have to add it.
Oh,
I think so from what we read.
You add all of it. Yeah, if you forget yesterday, you can add.
Yeah, but it will show today when you log in. Like if you log in tomorrow, it'll show today.
You have to literally add attendance. So the first time, you go down to the bottom to the control panel, you go to course tools, attendance, and the very first time you'll get this circle that says add attendance. So you have to add the tool into your class. And then all this. Does it copy over?
And to clarify about whether or not you have to do attendance.
No, you have to click it each time.
I mean, copy it from course to course.
No, so next time, the next course, you have to click add attendance again.
Yeah. And to clarify, what was I going to say? Oh, you only have to do attendance if you're doing the face-to-face classes. You don't have to do it online classes. Because, you know, it's difficult to do online attendance. Any other questions?
No, just really very quickly. So did I hear you say the attendance doesn't copy?
It does not copy, correct.
It does not, okay.
The tool is there, but you have to turn it on each time.
Okay.
It is like a lot of the stuff in Blackboard or any other learning management system where the tool will be there, but you would have to set it up again. Because it's based on the students. And we don't copy students when we copy course content. No, it's there. Yes, yes. Do what? It's beyond our For specific instructions about what you have to do with different ISDs or early college, high school, I suggest you ask somebody who knows. I can just help you with the software and stuff we've done. I can't give you policies or anything, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we're gonna add a few more PowerPoints like we have with attendance. And we'll add it at this where faculty resources quickly, okay? And if you guys have any other suggestions for what we need to put there, let us know. And we'll try to come up with something. And also, if you want individual training for your departments, we're happy to do that. You just have to request it, and if you can find a place to do it, that would be good because we don't have a place to do it. Okay? And if all of your people are not here, we can even set up a Blackboard Collaborate session and do training. Okay, are there any other questions? We're scheduled to go to 5, but I figure nobody wanted to stay till 5. So if we've answered all your questions, great. If not, you're welcome to ask more questions that I may or may not be able to answer.
Thank you. Thank you.